I had noted I wanted to go over some of the people that have added to the cuisines of North America, some of the European peoples that have added toward, to the cuisine of North America, of the United States in particular, but also Canada. And one immigrant group, see, the reason I'm doing this is because the initial colonists of Anglo-America were, of course, Anglo-Saxons, Scottish, Irish, and French, primarily, and Dutch. The Dutch were here even before the English. So I wanted to go over some of the different, more exotic groups of immigrants that have blended with and became one, creating the unique ethnic group known as the American White. White people in America are a unique ethnic group. Also, Germans. I did cover German cuisine earlier when I covered Pennsylvania Dutch cuisine, but Germans are also a group that came a little bit later after William Penn colonized Philadelphia. And because of the religious freedom and the Quaker concepts of religious freedom, it allowed Mennonites to colonize Pennsylvania. So Italian cuisine is a style of Italian-American cuisine is a style of Italian cuisine adapted throughout the United States. Italian-American food has been shaped throughout history by various waves of immigrants and their descendants called Italian-Americans. As immigrants from the different regions of Italy settled throughout the various regions of the United States, many brought with them a distinct regional Italian culinary tradition. Many of these foods and recipes developed into new favorites for the townspeople and later for Americans nationwide. So, traditional influences. Italian-American food is based primarily on the culinary traditions of Southern Italian immigrants. And the reason why, honestly, is just because the food tastes better. Northern Italian food is much more similar to what was already here from the Pennsylvania Dutch and the Germans and the English. Northern Italian food is not really much more interesting than other European fare. Although a significant number of Northern Italian immigrants also came to the United States and also influenced this style of cuisine to some extent, most of these immigrants arrived in the United States during the late 19th and early 20th century, and during this time, many Italians coming from Naples and Sicily moved to large American cities such as New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Chicago, St. Louis, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. The immigrant cuisine is thus largely derived from Neapolitan, meaning from Naples, and Sicilian cuisine, coming from the island of Sicily, and is particularly associated with those locations. Italian Americans often identify foods with their regional heritage. Southern Italian staples include dry pasta, tomato sauce, and olive oil, whereas Northern Italian staples include foods like risotto, white sauce, and polenta. Over time, through an increased appreciation of Italian cuisine in the United States, as well as increased imports. Now, one of the things that has to be understood about Italian cuisine, hence the Mediterranean diet, Italian cuisine is economical, it's affordable, it's cheap, it's mostly vegetarian, if you're eating a traditional Italian diet, and it's nutritious. So during the Great Depression and during the rationing of World War I and World War II, when food was scarce and we needed a cheap and economical and edible, something that tasted good, nutritious means to feed the population, Italian food really took off. And in fact, there was an Italian cookbook by a woman named Maria, I think her name is Maria Gentile, that was all about Italian cooking and how to cook Italian and what the benefits of Italian cooking over traditional American cooking at the time. And it really is a wonderful cookbook. American cuisine has readily received innovations from Italy, such as espresso, which evolved into specialty coffee drinks now ubiquitous in American life, which is like through Starbucks, tiramisu, and Nutella. On the other hand, pasta alla carbonara, a dish unrecorded in Italy before World War II may be due to an American influence in relationship to the Allied liberation of Rome in 1944. Many Italians then were happy to use powdered eggs. Many Italians were happy to use powdered eggs and bacon supplied by the United States and their armed forces for pasta dishes. Popularity of Italian-American cuisine. Italian-American food and Mediterranean cuisine, such as Greek, has been highly influential in the American diet. It is one of the top 3 cuisines in the United States, according to the National Restaurant Association. So, let's see here. Rated high on the list of popular trending items in the survey include Mediterranean flatbread, ciabatta bread, espresso, and specialty coffee drinks. Pizza and pasta are also common dishes in the United States. However, they are often presented in very different forms than in Italy. Italian-American cuisine and wine. There is a strong association between Italian-American cuisine with the history of winemaking in the United States. Many Italian wines were first introduced to the United States in the 1700s. Italian vintners, which are people that make wine, were first brought to the state of Florida in 1766 by Andrew Turnbull, a British consul at Smyrna, now Izmir. Philip Mazzei, an Italian physician and close friend of U.S. President Thomas Jefferson, also helped to cultivate vineyards, olives, and other Mediterranean fruit with the help of Italians. In later years, American viticulture, meaning the cultivation of vines or grapes, to be particular, was more influenced by the Italian diaspora of the transatlantic migrations, which steadily brought more Italians to America from the 1870s through the 1920s. Most of these Italians entered the east coast of the United States through Ellis Island, whereas many of those quickly passed through the American West Coast, where California still had its infamous gold rush. Or its famous gold rush, I should say. In California, Italian Americans were inspired by the expanse of rolling hills. See, this is one of the problems, well, not one of the problems, but we had rolling hills, fertile fields prior to Prohibition. Many wineries had made a start. So one of the issues that how Italian-American cuisine differs from traditional Italian cuisine is we have a lot more access to meat in the United States. So there is a lot more meat in the Italian-American cuisine than there would be in a lot more meat and a lot more cheese than there would be in the traditional Italian cuisine. And the reason why is because there's just simply more of it in the United States, and it being scarce in Italy, it's prized because it's a dense source of calories, a dense source of fat, and a dense source of protein. So despite people are primed to eat things that are high energy foods, it doesn't mean they're good for you when you eat them in mass quantities, though. Okay, so from 1919 until the repeal of Prohibition in 1933, many Italian Americans struggled to keep their vineyards going. Many remained through providing sacramental wine to the Catholic Church or grape juice to the general market. These few holdouts can be credited with salvaging America's viticulture heritage in an industry that values the longevity and tradition of the vine and its produce. Today, Italian-American wineries prove a powerful asset on the world market. Some of these companies include Atlas Peak, also known as Antinori, Casentino, Dalla Valle, Delicato, Ferrari Carano, E&J Gallo Winery, Geyser Peak, Louis M. Martini, Mazzocco, Robert Mondavi, Montebello Ridge, Corrado, Parducci, blah, 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 dishes. American chop suey, a distant relative of ragu bolognese, made primarily with hamburger meat. Baked ziti, ziti pasta, originally from Sicily, tube-shaped pasta, similar to penne but much longer, mixed with tomato sauce and covered with cheese, then baked in the oven. Lasagna, particularly using ricotta, called lasagna alla napolitana. In Italy, the ricotta distinguishes it from the original and better known outside the U.S. North Italian style that uses bechamel sauce, called lasagna alla bolognese or just lasagna. Penne alla vodka, the sauce of the pasta dish, consists of tomato, onion, prosciutto, cream, and vodka. Spaghetti and meatballs, a dish based on Neapolitan festival dishes. Vegetable dishes, eggplant parmesan, peas and eggs, meats and eggs. Frittata, of course, is an open-faced omelet containing meat, cheese, potatoes, peas, asparagus, peppers, kuza, onions, which is squash, onions, and other vegetables alone or in combination. Sausages and peppers and onions cooked together, sometimes with a very light red sauce. Porchetta, also known as porchetta, Italian roast pork. Chicken or veal parmesan, chicken marsala, chicken française, was developed by Italian-American restaurants after the Second World War, when French food became popular. Okay. Alfredo sauce, derived from the fettuccine Alfredo, made popular by Roman restaurateur Alfredo di Lelio. Okay. American Alfredo sauce consists largely of cream, butter, and Parmigiano Reggiano cheese with nutmeg and black pepper seasonings. Marinara sauce, a quick-cooking, sometimes spicy tomato sauce without meat served on pasta. Salsa al pomodoro, which means tomato sauce, is usually the Italian name. Bolognese, a meat-based sauce originating from Bologna, Italy. Sunday sauce, a meat-infused tomato sauce commonly made on Sundays and special occasions, derived from the Italian ragu napolitano. In some areas, including Boston, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, it is sometimes called gravy. Okay. Yeah, that's actually very common. You will hear Italians refer, especially in the Northeast, you will hear Italians refer to this type of sauce as gravy. The difference between gravy and, see, a lot of people think marinara sauce is gravy. Marinara sauce is not gravy. What differentiates marinara sauce from Italian gravy or red gravy is that red gravy or Italian gravy has meat drippings in it. Okay, so marinara sauce is just tomatoes, generally speaking. There might be some basil or something like that in there, but generally speaking, it's just tomatoes. Okay, now, this meat-infused sauce is regularly in the Northeast. My family, my Italian family, always called it gravy, too. It's called gravy or red gravy. It's not the same thing as marinara sauce. So do not, if you're vegan, don't order anything with gravy, if it's, because it's not. Seafood dishes. Lobster fra diavolo, a pasta dish made with lobster, sometimes other seafood. Soups and stews. A fish stew characteristic of the west coast of Italian-American cookery, particularly San Francisco. Wedding soup. A soup, everybody knows what that is. A soup made with meatballs or sausage and pasta in a chicken broth. Pasta e fagiolo, or fazool, American slang from southern Italy. Instead of standard Italian fagioli, pasta with beans, often cannelli beans that have the consistency of a stew. Breads and sandwiches, of course, pizza, calzone, and stromboli, while the half-moon-shaped Italian calzone is well known in the United States. The very similar tube-shaped stromboli, as well as the large loaf-like calzones served in slices, are also fairly common. Italian bread, perhaps a bit closer to French bread in composition and appearance, American Italian bread is a lean white bread, often braided and covered in sesame seeds, with a thin but usually crisp crust. American Italian bread does not particularly resemble any traditional Italian bread forms. So take note of that. Even though it's called Italian bread, American Italian bread does not resemble Italian bread from Italy. Pizza. The most common form of American pizza is based on the Neapolitan style, the earliest and essentially standard version of which is commonly called New York style. It's a thin crust. Also popular in America is a version of the Sicilian pizza, a larger square pizza in which the dough is risen an inch or more and which is topped, contrary to native Sicilian tradition, in much the same way as the thin-crusted, round Neapolitan form, including the use of mozzarella. Even more Americanized forms such as Greek pizza, a pizza, which is New Haven-style pizza, and Chicago style have become common. Submarine sandwich is, of course, a hoagie, originated in several different Italian-American communities in the northeastern United States from the late 19th to mid-20th centuries. Muffuletta, a large sandwich with cold cuts and olive salad made on a round loaf, originated in New Orleans. Italian beef sandwich, a type of roast beef sandwich native to Chicago, similar to a French dip sandwich, Italian sandwich, meatball sandwich, pizza gen or pizza rustica, Eastern pie made with various cheeses, eggs, and salted meats. This is Italian Argentine version is torta pasqualini. Tiramisu is a multi-layered cake with a light fluffy cream, often served with a coffee or other hot caffeinated beverage. Tiramisu is one of the more recent Italian imports, having been invented after World War II, probably in the Veneto region, but adopted readily by American diners. Cannoli is a sweet ricotta filling. A cannoli is sweet ricotta filling in a fried pastry shell. Strafoli, fried dough. Biscotti, di antori, not cookies. Whatever. Biscotti, generally anise flavored, often nut studded, hard cookie that may alternatively contain dried fruit or or chocolate are common as well. Pizzelle, traditional Italian waffle cookies made from flour, egg, sugar, butter, or oil. So that's a traditional Italian waffle cookie. A lot of people think these are Ukrainian or Italian, are not Ukrainian or Polish in my area, because what's humorous about that is you have a lot of shared recipes because of the Catholics, the Polish Catholics, obviously intermarry into Italian families and what have you, and then they start assuming that traditional Italian foods are traditional Polish foods. It's actually quite humorous. So this is an article about Polish American cuisine. There's more to it than pierogies. Okay, Polish Chicago is not nearly as Polish as it used to be. Nothing is quite as Polish or Italian or Chinese as it used to be in this country. The Polish community moves, but food brings them home. Okay, owner of the Polish so Polish deli in Des Plaines when my husband. Polish restaurants meet new customers. Polish food takes to the streets. Pierogi Wagon is not only the most popular Polish food truck in Chicago, but also one of the city's most popular food trucks overall. It started with Damian Warzecha, who is Polish, and his partner Jesse Whitney, who is Ukrainian, when they launched a Kickstarter campaign, or Jessica Whitney, who is Ukrainian. Once they had met their fundraising goal, Warzecha and Whitney opened well rolled onto the truck scene in 2014. Now pierogi wagon appears regularly at hotspots like the Willis Tower, where Zecca and Whitney are invited to bring their truck to countless street festivals and art fairs. Long lines are typical, and they often sell out of pierogies long before neighboring trucks sell most of their items. Its Kickstarter origin and current social media presence make pierogi wagon even more accessible to a wide audience. This modern business model takes traditional cuisine to the streets. Okay, it's just delicious. I never tried pierogi before I moved to Chicago, says Isabel Olivos, a 20-year-old customer who first caught pierogi wagon at the University of Chicago, one of its usual destinations. Restaurants aim to strike balance between tradition and assimilation. This is a unique thing about the immigrant groups that have come to the United States. They try to assimilate their traditional foods into the U.S. culture. They try to assimilate their foods into the U.S. culture, thereby making it more appetizing to U.S. customers. You'll see this a lot with Asian foods also. So, pierogi wagon. Berghoff uses recipes passed down from her mother and grandmother to make Polish deli specialties, pierogi, stuffed cabbage, potato pancakes, and other classic Polish dishes. They have 10 different kinds of soup every week. It's all traditional. Polish food is very important because Polish people are looking for something like what their mom made, Berghoff says. Everybody likes it. Everybody is looking for it. Blah, blah, blah. Kasia Deli lives on. Okay. So this is about a Ukrainian village. You'll notice a lot of similarities between Ukrainian and Polish food. This is because parts of Ukraine and Poland used to be shared. Some of them used to be part of Poland. Some of them used to be part of Ukraine. So I'm going to move on. So what exactly is Ukrainian cuisine? Okay, the people of Ukraine, one of the largest and most populous European countries, it is heavily influenced by the rich, dark soil. The national traditional dish of Ukraine is borscht, the well-known beet soup of which many varieties exist. Okay, of course, Ukraine has been called the breadbasket of Europe, as we know. Soups, of course, borscht is a vegetable soup made out of beets, cabbage, potatoes, tomatoes, carrots, onions, garlic, and dill. There are about 30 varieties of Ukrainian borscht. Zelenie borscht or green borscht. It's a sorrel soup, water or broth-based soup with sorrel. Kapushniak soup, made with pork, sallow, cabbage, beans, and served with smetana, sour cream. Rosolnik soup with pickled cucumbers. Salads and appetizers, various kinds of smoked or boiled pork, beef, or chicken sausage. Sallow, cured fatback. Kolodets. Olivier. Okay, it's a salad made out of cooked and chopped potatoes. Vinaigrette salad with cooked and shredded beets, sauerkraut, cooked and chopped potatoes, onions, and carrots, sometimes pickled, mixed with some sunflower oil and salt. Bread and grain, of course. Babka, Easter bread. Bublik, ring-shaped bread. Kulak, ring-shaped bread, typically served at Christmas and funerals. Korove, a round braided bread, similar to kalak. Okay, main courses. Variety of vareniki, stuffed with meat, served with fried onions. Traditional. This is a smetannik, a traditional Ukrainian dessert. Stuffed duck, stuffed goose. Desserts. Kutia, traditional Christmas dish made of poppy seeds, wheat, nuts, honey, and delicacies. Okay. Pampushki, sweet dough similar to donut holes, frequently tossed with sugar. Sirniki, fried quark. Quark is like a cottage cheese, so it's fried cheese fritters, sometimes with raisins, served with sour cream, jam, honey, or applesauce. Torte, many varieties of cakes from moist to puffy. Varnia, okay, zelly. Beverages. Of course, alcoholic, they have Horlika, beer, wine, mead. Non-alcoholic, mineral water, well-known brands or blah blah. Kumpat, a sweet beverage made of dried or fresh fruits or berries boiled in water. Uzvar, a specific type of kumpat made of dried fruit, mainly apples, pears, and prunes. So what that is you're infusing the water with the flavor of the dried fruit. Kvass, a sweet and sour sparkling beverage brewed from yeast, sugar, and dried rye bread. Kefir, milk fermented by both yeast and lactobacillus bacteria and having a similar taste to yogurt. Homemade kefir may contain a slight amount of alcohol. American Chinese cuisine. It's derived. Okay, so Chinese immigrants arrived in the United States seeking employment as miners and railroad workers. As larger groups arrived, laws were put in place preventing them from owning land. They mostly lived together in ghettos, individually referred to as Chinatown. Here, the immigrants started their own businesses, including restaurants and laundry services. By the 19th century, the Chinese community in San Francisco operated sophisticated and sometimes luxurious restaurants patronized mainly by Chinese. The restaurants in smaller towns, mostly owned by Chinese immigrants, served food based on what their customers requested, anything ranging from pork chop sandwiches and apple pie to beans and eggs. Many of these small-town restaurant owners were self-taught family cooks who improvised on different cooking methods using whatever ingredients were available. These smaller restaurants were responsible for developing American Chinese cuisine, where the food was modified to suit a more American palate. First catering to miners and railroad workers, they established new eateries in towns where Chinese food was completely unknown, adapting local ingredients and catering to their customers' tastes. Chinese restaurants in the United States began during the California Gold Rush, which brought 20,000 to 30,000 immigrants across from the Canton or Guangdong region of China. The first Chinese restaurant in America is debated. Some say it was Maku and Wusong, while others cite Canton Restaurant. But both unphotographed establishments were founded in 1849 in San Francisco. Either way, these and other such restaurants were central features in the daily lives of immigrants. They provided a connection to home, particularly for bachelors who did not have the resources or knowledge to cook for themselves. The trend spread steadily eastward with the growth of the American railways, particularly to New York. The Chinese Exclusion Act allowed merchants to enter the country, and in 1915, restaurant owners became eligible for merchant visas. This fueled the opening of Chinese restaurants as an immigration vehicle. Pekin Noodle Parlor, established in 1911, is the oldest operating Chinese restaurant in the country. As of 2015, the United States had 47,700 Chinese restaurants. Along the way, cooks adapted Southern Chinese dishes such as chop suey and developed a style of Chinese food not found in China, provided an ethnic niche for small businesses at the time when Chinese people were excluded from most jobs in the wage economy by ethnic discrimination or lack of language fluency. By the 1920s, this cuisine, particularly chop suey, became popular among the middle-class Americans. However, after World War II, it began to be dismissed for not being authentic. late 20th century tastes have been more accommodating. By this time, it had become evident that Chinese restaurants no longer catered mainly to Chinese customers. Chinese American restaurants played a key role in ushering in the era of takeout and delivery food in America. In New York City, delivery was pioneered in the 1970s by Empire Szechuan Gourmet franchise, which hired Taiwanese students studying at Columbia University to do the work. Chinese American restaurants were among the first restaurants to use picture menus in the U.S. Beginning in the 1950s, Taiwanese migrants replaced Cantonese immigrants as the primary labor force in American Chinese restaurants. These immigrants expanded the American Chinese cuisine beyond Cantonese cuisine to encompass dishes from many different regions of China, as well as Japan-inspired dishes. In 1955, the Republic of China evacuated the Daqing Islands. In the face of encroaching communists, many who evacuated to Taiwan later moved to the United States as they lacked strong social networks and access to opportunity in Taiwan. Chefs from Daqing Islands had a strong influence on American Chinese food. Taiwanese immigration largely ended in the 1990s due to an economic boom and democratization in Taiwan. From the 1990s onward, immigrants from China once again made up the majority of cooks in American Chinese restaurants. There has been a consequential component of Chinese emigration of illegal origin, most notably the Fuzhou people, Fujian province, and Wenzhou, whatever, in mainland China, specifically destined to work in Chinese restaurants in New York City beginning in the 1980s. So you see, this is a lot of illegal migration. Adapting Chinese cooking techniques to local produce and tastes has led to the development of American Chinese cuisine. So this is because they are using more local ingredients and developing these foods, developing these new cuisines to fit the American palate. In 2011, the Smithsonian National Museum of American History displayed some of the historic background and cultural artifacts of American Chinese cuisine, and its exhibit entitled Sweet and Sour, a look at the history of Chinese food in the United States. Differences from regional cuisines in China. American Chinese food builds from styles and food habits brought from southern province of Guangdong, often from the Tuxian district or Tuxian, the origin of most Chinese immigration before the closure of immigration from China. In 1924, these Chinese families developed new styles and used readily available ingredients, especially in California. The type of Chinese-American cooking served in restaurants was different from the foods eaten in Chinese-American homes. Of the various regional cuisines in China, Cantonese cuisine has been the most influential in the development of American Chinese food. One major difference between Chinese and American Chinese cuisine is in the use of vegetables. Salads containing raw or uncooked ingredients are rare in traditional Chinese cuisine. However, an increasing number of American Chinese restaurants, including some upscale establishments, have started to offer these items in response to customer demand. While cuisine in China makes frequent use of Asian leaf vegetables like bok choy and kailan, American Chinese cuisine makes use of ingredients not native to and very rarely used in China, for example, Western broccoli, instead of Chinese broccoli. Broccoli is also referred to, okay, that's just another way to say broccoli. American Chinese food also has a reputation for high levels of MSG, a flavor enhancer. However, and I've done videos on why MSG is not bad for you. I can do them again if people want. It's not bad for you. A lot of people say no MSG on the menu, blah, blah, blah. Egg fried rice An American Chinese cuisine is also prepared differently with more soy sauce added for more flavor, whereas the traditional egg fried rice uses less soy sauce. Some food styles, such as dim sum, were also modified to fit American palates, such as added batter for fried dishes and extra soy sauce. Both Chinese and American Chinese cooking utilize similar methods of preparation such as stir frying, pan frying, and deep frying, which are all easily done using a wok. Ming Tsai, the owner of the Blue Ginger restaurant in Wesley, Massachusetts, and host of the PBS culinary show Simply Ming, said that American Chinese restaurants typically try to have food representing 3 to 5 regions of China at one time, have chop suey, or have fried vegetables and some protein in a thick sauce. 8 different sweet and sour dishes, or a whole page of 20 different chow mein dishes or fried rice dishes. Tsai said Chinese American cuisine is dumbed down Chinese food. It's adapted to be blander, thicker, and sweeter for the American public. Most American Chinese establishments cater to non-Chinese customers with menus written in English or containing pictures if separate Chinese language menus are available. They typically feature items such as liver, chicken feet, or other meat dishes that might deter American customers, such as offal, which is organ meats. Some restaurants are known for having a phantom menu with food preferred by ethnic Chinese but believed to be disliked by non-Chinese Americans. Chop suey with garlic chicken and pea pods, and an unopened fortune cookie. Dishes: almond chicken, beef and broccoli, chicken and broccoli, Chinese chicken salad, chop suey, crab rangoon, fortune cookie, fried wontons, General Tso's chicken, Mongolian beef, pepper steak, royal beef, sesame chicken, sushi, sweet roll, wonton strips. Other American Chinese dishes: damyu is a Chinese vegetable that has become popular since the early 1990s, and now not only appears on English language menus, usually as pea shoots, but is often served by upscale Asian restaurants. North American versions of dishes also found in China: Beijing beef, cashew chicken, chow mein, egg foo young, egg roll, fried rice, ginger beef, ginger fried beef, hula tang, kung pao chicken, lo mein, mei fun, mushu pork, orange chicken, wonton soup. Regional variations: New York metropolitan area is home to the largest Chinese population outside of Asia, which also constitutes the largest metropolitan Asian American group in the United States and the largest Asian national metropolitan diaspora in the Western Hemisphere. The Chinese American population of New York City metropolitan area was estimated at 893,697 as of 2017. Given the New York metropolitan area's continuing status as by far the leading gateway for Chinese immigrants to the United States, all popular styles of every Chinese regional cuisine have commensurately become ubiquitously accessible in New York. Okay. Kosher preparation of Chinese food. Kosher preparation of Chinese food is also widely available in New York City, given the metropolitan area's large Jewish and particularly Orthodox Jewish populations. The perception that American Jews eat at Chinese restaurants on Christmas Day is documented in the media. The tradition may have arisen from the lack of other open restaurants on Christmas Day, the close proximity of Jewish and Chinese immigrants to each other in New York City, and the absence of dairy foods combined with meat. Kosher Chinese food is usually prepared in New York City, as well as in other large cities with Orthodox Jewish populations, under strict rabbinical supervision as a prerequisite for kosher certification. Los Angeles County, Chinese populations in Los Angeles County represent at least 21 to 34 provincial level administrative units of China, along with the largest population of Taiwanese-born immigrants outside of Taiwan, making the Greater Los Angeles home to a diverse population of Chinese people in the United States. Chinese American cuisine in Los Angeles and the Greater Los Angeles area is concentrated in Chinese ethnoburbs rather than traditional Chinatowns. San Francisco Bay Area, blah, blah, blah. This just goes through the other areas. Philadelphia, the evolving American China. Philadelphia has a very nice Chinatown, or at least it used to be a very nice Chinatown. The evolving American Chinese cuisine scene in Philadelphia has similarities with the situation in both New York City and Boston. As with Boston, Philadelphia is experiencing significant Chinese immigration from New York City, 95 miles to the north, and from China, the top country of birth by significant margin for new arrivals there. There is growing Fujianese community in Philadelphia, as well as Foodways. Foodways cuisine is readily available in the Philadelphia Chinatown. Also, emerging Vietnamese cuisine in Philadelphia is contributing to evolution in local Chinese cuisine. Okay, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, Hawaii. This is from Food Network. So what is Korean American cuisine? Okay, Korean American. What makes Korean American food American food? Because Korean is an adjective for American, this isn't a Korean cookbook. This is an American cookbook. This is the book the guy wrote. And Korean Americans are American. There's no definition yet, and the more we try to define it, the more we're going to limit a swath of people. For example, my broccoli cheese rice casserole, this is from the guy that wrote the book, which is part of my Thanksgiving spread, doesn't have a Korean twist. It's just our family recipe. It's Korean American because rice is the most important thing on our table, something that always has to be on the table. At Thanksgiving, there's no bowl of rice, but there's that broccoli cheese rice casserole. We've talked in the past about what it means to be Korean versus Korean American, and the creation of this third culture type of identity, and food. He says, I view it as both. I care about preservation, but I don't think that innovating is the same as erasing the past. And that's very important to understand. Innovation is not the same thing as erasing. We need to see the evolution of food as part of the story. The way to preserve is to innovate. So that is true. The way to preserve is to innovate. In urban studies, they talk about how old cities die because people are trying to preserve it, but trying to extend its life into the future means you need to add acid and vinegar and salt and ferment it like kimchi. Like the way people think that certain Korean recipes have to be authentically Korean, even though the history of that specific dish is often not even that old or as authentic as it's made out to be, like whatever. Okay, yeah, even as the 1970s, Korea was still a new country. Did writing this book help you discover yourself as a Korean American? It didn't really happen until I quarantined with my family, which brought out a lot of memories. I felt like I was in a time warp, blah, blah, blah. Okay. My next video is going to start with talking about the different religious cuisines. It's going to start with Seventh-day Adventist cuisine, and then and food beliefs, and then move into Mormon food practices, and then into Catholic food practices, and possibly into kosher food practices after that. And that's going to be all for this video.